Well. Welcome, everyone. MTL Sports on episode 112. All right, today we got a little catching up to do. So we got the AFC East, we got the Miami Dolphins, we got the Buffalo Bills, we got the Patriots, and we got the New York Jets. Jets, Jets. Who's going to win this division? Well, I don't even know yet. So we'll talk about that coming up shortly and might throw in a little bit of other stuff, but we'll see if we have time for that. So, with all that being said, guys, stay tuned. Hey everyone, we're back kicking off AFC East preview. I guess for the AFC East, right? I would say we're pretty much in the same spot we were last year. Albeit Aaron Rodgers, is he actually going to last a full season this time instead of what was it, four or five snaps in Lawrence last year? Towards Achilles, so he didn't play all preseason, but he did practice in the joint practices, and apparently him and Garrett Wilson are unstoppable. So we have to see if that translates to actual regular season games. So let's pull this bad boy up, and let's share our thoughts on the AFC East. Lawrence, you want to go first? Who's going to win this division this year? And then I guess what's everyone's win-loss record for the season?
Well, looking at this looking at this season for both teams, I feel like we're going to have like a three-way again at the top. I think the Jets improve, obviously, for obvious reasons, with quarterback that we expect and what we're bidding on, actually showing up. I think the Bills regress a little bit due to the schedule. I think Keon Coleman's going to be fun, but they really don't have another weapon outside of tight ends. So there's not much to, flaunt about on that end. The running backs are all right. Quarterback is a better running back than the running backs on the team. And I feel like the Dolphins have a lot of weapons, but I think we've proven in this the Dolphins defense is only going to get worse. With some of the losses they had, but they never beat good teams. They only beat bad teams. And then the Patriots again, I think are going to be really bad. I think they should just moved on to like a whole different kind of coaching pattern, or just coaching ideology in general, than staying in house. I don't know if you saw the report the other day, but the coach said he doesn't even know if he has a starting left guard or center on his current roster that he has made up. So that doesn't bode very well. That the offensive line isn't up to par with NFL standards. So with that being said, I'll probably go with New England to get about 4 wins again, somewhere around there at the bottom, 4 to 5. Maybe they sneak a little bit more in with a little weaker schedule. I think the Jets with a third place schedule can solidify a second place spot. I think the Bills with a top seeded schedule still maintain a top seed. I think Keon Coleman and the new offense for the Bills, I think they go straight into it. And I honestly think they kind of steamroll. I think they can get like 13 wins this season. I just think the defense is a little bit more improved, and I believe that the offense, I think it's a little bit more dynamic, and I think they're building the team to kill more clock than anything else, which is something different. So there is that to look at, and I do believe the Bills will pick up another wide receiver at some point, with NFL releases and everything. And they'll get themselves something else. But I then again, with all that being said, that means the Dolphins I have in third. It's really hard to tell a win total based on these teams, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins about 9 wins, Jets about 10 wins, and at worst, I think the Bills get about 11 wins. I don't think the Bills do much worse than they did last year. I think they finished the season hot. I think if it wasn't for a kicker messing up, who was pretty efficient during the regular season, I think they win that game. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's just the fact that the Dolphins, as good as they may be, they just don't ever prove it on the stage. Like they're unproven. And honestly, the Jets with 7 wins with Zach Wilson, if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, this team is going to be very good.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I think we're in the same boat with New England being in last place. I think they're not good. I think Coach Mayo came out today and said that Drake May was the second best quarterback on the roster. So that tells you all you need to know. Even though he did look good last night versus the Commanders, I think the Commanders even still had some of their starters in. So yeah, it's little interesting of his the way he thinks and the way he's kind of building the team. Let Gerard Mayo go for a 3rd-round pick. I feel like that was a slap in the face to a lot of Patriots fans. It was very questionable. When I even saw the news, I was like, 3rd-round pick. Then this guy just have a bunch of sacks the year before he got hurt. I don't know. So, yeah, some questionable things coming out the Patriots camp, but honestly, they're not in any rush. I feel like whether they start Drake May or he plays behind Brissett, who let's be honest, Brissett looked better than Sam Howell all the times that he played versus Sam Howell last year, and the Commanders' offense. So that's saying a lot. The offense was pretty terrible. So even with EB somehow at the helm, the offense looks terrible. So that says enough right there. So 4 wins is probably their ceiling. I think the Vegas has them at 4.5. I'm taking the under. I don't think they can get more than, honestly, 4 is probably pushing it. I feel like they're gonna be in the realm of probably 2 to 3. Even though their schedule is gonna be relatively easy, but just don't see it from them. 3rd place. I went back and forth on this, but I think I'm gonna agree with you, Lawrence. I got the Dolphins in 3rd. But I think the top 3 teams in this division will have double-digit wins. I feel like the Dolphins will get to at least 10 wins, so I got them at 10-7. They got too much talent not to get double-digit wins, even though we've seen in the past, whether it's against good teams or it's cold weather teams, they kind of don't show up. So here's to me, just banking on the fact that maybe a year of getting exposed will piss some fire underneath for them, and once they leave that 80-degree Miami weather, they won't go out and get embarrassed in a place like Minnesota or any of those cold weather cities. Or Minnesota's a dome, so places like Green Bay or Buffalo or even Cincinnati or Cleveland late November, December, January. So I got them 10-7. Their defense got terrible. Got way worse. They lost a lot of guys, defensive linemen. They did get. Didn't they trade for a corner? Didn't they get like another corner or something?
Yeah, they got another corner, but I mean, I don't think corner was a piece that they were
really needing.
Yeah.
They got Poyer from the Bills. Ramsey's back, of course. They got Fuller. Fuller is nice, better than I think last year they had like Eli Apple or something. So a little bit better there. Defensive line, yeah. I mean, other than Calais Campbell, I mean, who do you really have? Offensive line is kind of questionable too. They get OBJ, but we'll see. How does OBJ look? 3 years after injury? In this offense, we'll see about that. But yeah, I got them 10-7. It's all about can Tua stay healthy again, and can they actually perform well in the playoffs if they get there? Because 10-7 is going to be the cutoff in AFC, I believe. So will they sneak in because of some tiebreakers? Maybe, but we'll have to see about that. 2nd place. I went back and forth, and I think the Bills, I think they have a little regression here. And so with that being said, I got them at 2nd. I think Diggs, I mean, they look bad when Diggs wasn't really even, a factor last year. I mean, they went through a real mid-season stretch where they were just awful. They were just losing games they shouldn't have lost, and then they pulled themselves together and, eventually won the division last year. But I think without Diggs, without a solidified number one, even without Gabe Davis, I mean, the guy who was on and off every other game, uh, I just don't know who Josh Allen goes to. And I feel like if you give Josh Allen too much to do, that's when Josh Allen starts doing Josh Allen things. So I know that, like I said, Lawrence, the tight ends, pretty good. You got Kincaid and Knox, but James Cook, he's a decent running back. He can, run decently, catch out the backfield. So, I mean, you got basically two tight ends to rely on and James Cook. And then you got rookie Keon Coleman and you got Curtis Samuel, who's just really a yak guy in, the short crossing game, short crossing routes and stuff like that. And you got MVS, who catches every other ball. I don't know. The recipe just isn't there for winning this division unless, Aaron Rodgers just isn't Aaron Rodgers. So,
Ray Davis is a nice little ray of sunshine, though.
Who?
Ray Davis, the backup running back out of Kentucky.
Okay, so they got a 1-2 punch at running back and a 1-2 punch at tight end.
Well, they have a 1-3 punch at running back. I think you're missing the point here. Half their running game is
Josh Allen. Yeah, and that's why I don't like, because, like I said, you start relying on Josh Allen too much. That's when he starts doing Josh Allen things, and then that's when you start losing. And I think it was a good thing that he had Diggs, even though him and Diggs were kind of off all last year. At the very least, he always had that outlet, like, hey, I'm just gonna throw it up to you, even though he didn't a lot of last season, but he always had that in the back of his mind. This year, you're going into it like he doesn't really have that factor. Maybe Dawson Knox or Kincaid. Kincaid's going into second year. Maybe he'll just become elite, and maybe he'll be that little safety blanket for Josh Allen. But I'm just not seeing it from this team. I'm not seeing it from this team. And then number one, you got the Jets, of course. I went back and forth on this, Lawrence. Part of me wants to say, Aaron Rodgers, somewhat washed, bad juju coming off the Achilles. Then the other part of me is like, hey, until I actually see that he's washed, I can't count him out, can't rule him out. So I think I'm more so in that camp where until I actually see it, the decline, I just can't rule him out. Even though, his past 2 years in Green Bay didn't turn out all that well, especially the very last year, right, when he lost that game versus the Lions, where if they won, they would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I mean that those Packers teams weren't that good. But anyway, Jets, like I said, 7-10 with Zach Wilson, Mike White at the helm. Pretty respectable. Defense is pretty elite. Only going to get better. They're young. And then they got better on offense. Breece Hall is back for full training camp. What is there not to like about the Jets? This all comes down to Aaron Rodgers. And can he pull this thing together? Can he keep healthy? Can he get the young offensive guys up to speed? And you got Mike Williams as well. A nice little pickup right there. Tyron Smith went there. So the offensive line's a little bit better. So my two things is, can Aaron Rodgers pull this team together that's young, elite on defense, and can the offensive line protect them? Because the offensive line, I still feel like is shaky. I don't know if you have that same feeling, Lawrence, but I still feel like they're shaky. I don't know if they're going to hold up through the whole year, especially Tyron Smith, because he's known to be like injury prone, even though he is a good left tackle. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold through the whole season in order for them to win this division, which, I had them at 12 wins. So I pretty much have 10, 11, 12 for the top three in this division. And I have two teams making the playoffs. I got the Bills and Jets making the playoffs coming out the AFC East.
I don't see anything wrong with your synopsis. I also believe the Jets can win. I also believe the Jets should win the division. Because you're playing a third place schedule with a much improved quarterback. I honestly would like to see. I know it's not going to happen, but I'd kind of like to see Tyrod Taylor get cut. No offense, but I didn't think he was that amazing in the preseason, even though he barely played. But I
Mhm.
do think the backups were doing really good for the reps that they were getting. Which they're not all on the team, but I mean Jordan Travis as a backup is pretty decent. The Andrew Beasley guy, I mean if he doesn't get a practice squad spot somewhere, I don't even know. And the fact that they had a fifth guy on this roster, Adrian Martinez, who,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
remember, was the Birmingham Stallions quarterback when they went back to back. So, uh, in my opinion, like they were just loaded this offseason at quarterback. And then, hopefully most of them get jobs elsewhere. But it really comes down for this team is the aides, the O-line able to hold up. Hopefully the goal of the line shouldn't have to, we shouldn't have to stand back to pass for, too long with the weapons that Aaron Rodgers has to throw to and the skill in which Aaron Rodgers has. I believe it's really high quality. I know they have Xavier Gipton as a third wide receiver slash slot back. I mean, yeah, maybe. But I mean, Malachi Corley or Malachi, was it Coney?
Yeah, I think so.
Mr. Yak King back in college. He's gonna enjoy Aaron Rodgers' quick release of the ball. Honestly, this team should be very highly touted. They've kind of gotten rid of some, I don't want to say cancerous pieces, but I feel like the next problem they have is like a Hassan Reddick. Okay, you went out and you got Hassan Reddick, and apparently the guy was already asking for a trade without even starting at all. Like, that just doesn't bode well, doesn't show much, kind of gives hard to have faith in a team. And no offense to Reddick, but like you're supposed to be a focal point of the defense, and like the season hasn't even started, and you're asking for like getting traded.
When he was already traded, like they already traded for him.
Like, I don't know what you're asking for, but it's really stupid. Just get out there and play. You're on a good team. You could be on a much worse team. I mean, you were on the Carolina Panthers back in the day. You know what bad teams are like. You're not on there. So, like, what are you complaining about?
Yeah, 100%. And we'll see if he actually continues his holdout. Will he continue through week 1, week 2? I doubt it, because I don't even know if he's making that all that much this year. So missing them game checks might really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was just. I mean, that's the one caveat we got here is, can you get Reddick in the building, and will he be ready for week 1? My guess is probably, because I mean he's just a defensive end. You just gotta teach him a couple play calls, and he just gotta hold the end. I mean, that's all you asking for him. But speaking of receiver and making moves throughout the season, which team do you think is more likely to do that? Do you think the Jets? The Jets, I mean, they have Garrett Wilson, they have Mike Williams, but I mean, there's the rumblings of, potentially Devontae Adams reuniting with Aaron Rodgers back in New York. Or like you said, Buffalo, they get to the point, week 4, week 5, where they're like, all right, we just can't do this. Keon Coleman's a good rookie, but he's just not even coming close to the production of, Diggs in a good season. Which team is more likely to make that move?
I think it's the Bills. At the end of the day, I feel like the Bills make that move before the Jets make that move.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, my philosophy is the Bills are going to make that move right after preseason. Tomorrow's the day where everyone gets cut. The Bills are signing somebody, because there's going to be a veteran out there that gets cut, because there's a rookie on the team that's doing decent, and the veteran costs too much money. And the Bills are going to try to bring in some talent, some younger, youthful talent, or an elderly wide receiver to bring a little bit more, wisdom into the room. I mean, if you look at the Bills wide receiver room, I mean, the fact that Shakir is like the most, well-versed in the NFL is a little shocking. He's not been around very long. But I mean, neither has half the roster. So I think they're the first team that bites, and I think they get someone early. Because like NVS is, he's kind of a backup, but at this point, NVS has kind of proven to himself just to be a journeyman. And yeah, kind of a carried journeyman at that. I mean, he's on good teams. It wasn't like he was making the amazing plays every single time. And Curtis Samuel, I mean, he's been around the league for a while, but he's been hurt around the league for a while. So I think it's Bills make the first move, and I think it's the Jets who make a later in the season move for Adams. I don't think it's going to be too late in the season because I feel like the Raiders will figure out who they are by a certain point because the Minshew train doesn't work out and the Nato O'Connell train doesn't work out. And honestly, it might not even be Adams that moves. I mean, one of the guys who it could be picked up is pretty early on is Hunter Renfrow. I mean, maybe he gets picked up. Like maybe he finally gets allowed to get out of there. Saves from cap space, and the Bills take him. I mean, there's going to be someone in the league is going to be available for the Bills, and they're going to have to take a whim on a prayer on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bills first one's up, followed by the Jets. Jets, like I said, a little bit more proven, but I think if Aaron Rodgers says go do it, they're gonna go do it. He has probably 2 years at most. So
I mean, the Dolphins don't need to make that move.
Yeah, Dolphins. Yeah, no, they good. They got OBJ, Waddle, and Tyreek. I think they're pretty alright. All right, sounds good. That's the AFC East, y'all. We do have some other football news to go over, though. Starting with last week. Now, this was a little shocking to me, and we kind of talked about this in the group chat a little bit. Jahan Dotson, I'm sorry, traded to the Eagles. Very shocking. Didn't expect it, but he is pretty much the Eagles' number 3. That leaves the Commanders with basically just Scary Terry. That's pretty much their only receiver, right? And they have De'Ami Brown, who, let's be honest, De'Ami Brown kind of sucks, right, Lawrence? So, how do you feel about the trade from both sides, Lawrence? And where do the Commanders go from here? Do they go for Ayuk, or do they just stand pat and just say, "Hey, we just got to be bad for another season"?
I feel like if they don't get Ayuk, I feel like they still have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't feel like there's enough on the roster to compete at a high enough level. I think they have pieces, and I think that's about all you can give them. But I feel like they're gonna realize, like, at a certain point in the season that, like, we have a young quarterback who's not bad. He needs talent in order to succeed better in the league, or to fulfill the promises that you want a young quarterback to provide for you. I mean, I think it's gonna be a quick wake up call that it doesn't work, and they'll probably be calling around the league, and maybe they get 100 Renfrow. I mean that kind of elusiveness would be fun for the team. I mean, honestly, it's anything to get Scary Terry some eyes off of him real quick.
Yeah. I like I said in the group chat, I was, Ayuk, if it doesn't happen by midweek, it's not going to happen. I think it doesn't make sense to kind of drag this thing out when you already know the 49ers, what the asking price is. It doesn't make sense to drag it out because the price today is going to be the same price, by end of the week. Just get the guy in the building if you really want him. Pay him, get the guy in the building, get him up to speed so that week 1, he instead of only knowing like 5 plays, he knows like half the playbook because he had the extra, this is the bye week. He gets the extra week to actually learn the playbook a little bit more. So sooner than later, because, the more you push it off, the more time you give San Fran and Ayuk more time to fold. So one of the two sides is going to fold, if not both. Whether it's Ayuk, he's like, all right, I'll play on the tag, or I'll settle for $28 million instead of, I wanted 30. I'll settle for 28. Well, the 49ers will fold and say, all right, you want 30, we'll give you 29.5 plus incentives. So the more time you push that off, the more time a deal between those two is going to happen. So Dotson, I guess he just didn't work out with them, with their system, Kingsbury's system. I guess he just, didn't work out too well. So he should have some success in Philly, though. I feel like you got legit 2 number ones. Your role in Philly won't be as much as they was asking in Washington. I think people had really big expectations for him, Lawrence, and maybe it got to him, maybe not. But in Philly, you pretty much just chilling. You just got to catch a couple balls here and there. You pretty much, if we're doing that analogy, you're the Tyler Boyd situation where you just got to catch the key passes, get a couple first downs here and there. That's your role, right?
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even say he's a Tyler Boyd role. His whole job is first and second down. If they're not running the ball, you better be open. Because on third down, we're not looking at you. Sorry, but you're not number 1 nor number 2 target. Your job is to get open on first and second down. If we're throwing in on first or second, you need to be open. You need to be prepared. Because we're looking for you. Because, we got to spread the ball out. We got to spread the ball around. But at third down, we're looking to our guys. We're looking for our guys. And you're just not him. You're not him. Now, I guess it's a little different for Boyd because, he is a proven veteran. And while the last couple of years, Chase and Higgins have been a little younger and still developing, as we may know and say, they are very good and developed. At the end of the day, they're still developing. Both of them are still on a rookie contract. Am I right? So
yeah,
still working it out. Boyd has been there, done that, so he gets third down looks. Sahan, you don't get third down looks. You got first and second down to make a play.
Hey, that's a fair take right there. Second up, we got CD. Terry Jones finally folded. Paid CD, was it 4 years, $136, $38 million signing bonus. Do you think it's an overpay, Lawrence? And who do you think will this lead to Dak getting paid, Micah getting paid, or is this just Jerry's just like, all right, this is it?
Well, I think he's a good wide receiver and all, but I do think it's overpaid because he's the second highest paid player outside of a quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
So he is overpaid. Let's just be honest. Because if you ask me, is he, top 5 wide receiver? I argue back and forth that I could be leaving him out or keeping him in there. If you're second highest paid of all time money, no brainer. Best wide receiver, no brainer. But do I think he's better than Tyreek Hill? I don't. I think his hands might be better than Tyreek Hill's, but his playmaking ability is not better than Tyreek Hill.
Fair enough.
And I don't like it as well because it prohibits your roster from growing. You just took too much of the money. Now you might lose your quarterback who's gotten you that money because they're not going to be able to afford him. Or if they decide that, okay, we can't go without Dak because we've seen how bad Trey Lance is with his 5 interceptions. Now we can't pay Micah. And you kind of need to pay Parsons. That's a no-brainer.
That's a no-brainer.
You need that defensive, at least one person on defense you can trust. Now paying all 3 of them. Now once you pay all 3 of them, are you even able to make a 53-man roster anymore? Because those are basically the 3 highest paid players. So are you even gonna be able to make a 53-man roster anymore? How many? You're probably gonna be scraping the bottom of the barrel for veteran minimums at the end of the day because you're not even going to be able to pay veteran minimums.
Yeah. I agree.
I think it's a slippery slope. I think it was I think it was a good but bad. I feel like you needed to make him understand that we really want you here, but I also have talent I need to pay too. Because other teams who have great offensive weapons like a CD, they don't have amazing defensive weapons like they also do.
Yeah, I think it's a slight overpay. He did have a good season last year. Not good, great. Led the league in yards. I think catches too. I think he had 130 something. He put up some crazy numbers. Did that amount to nothing? No, because you lost in the first round again. So, and like you said, when you keep paying these guys, the top dollar, You're limiting roster construction, and you already got to pay Micah at some point. You got to pay him at some point. He's been gracious to actually participate in training camp when he could have held out or did the little soft hold in. And then Jerry Jones, for whatever reason, refuses to pay Dak, but he's not going to get another quarterback better or just as good as Dak. So I don't see the whole point there. I mean, Trey Lance, if you didn't see the last preseason game, man, threw 5 interceptions. Like, if that doesn't tell you all there, I mean, if that doesn't show you what you need to see, I don't know what will. All right, maybe the old age has him seeing things, and he's seeing nothing but green flags with Trey Lance when all we're seeing is red flags, right? So
he just got the jerseys wrong,
that could be also a possibility. All right, so I mean, who knows with Jerry Jones? I'm not going to speculate too much because it's them boys and the cowgirls. Cowgirls I don't really care too much about, but slight overpay. Like I said, the roster construction will be quite a challenge moving forward. Last up, this just came in like a couple hours ago. Malik Willis is going to the Packers, apparently. How do we feel about this? I guess he's the backup to Jordan Love. Malik Willis, let's be honest, I feel like Malik Willis just got the short end of the stick, Lawrence. Because Ryan Tannehill got hurt, of course. I mean, it always happens, right? And they just threw him out there. He didn't even know the playbook. He just ran the ball. And they're like, oh, Malik Willis, it looks awful. I'm like, Malik, I mean, you kind of just threw him out in the fire. What did you expect? So I don't think it's half bad.
But he also looked horrible in the preseason. I mean, the preseason games I've seen him play, and he doesn't look amazing either.
I watched yesterday. He looked pretty decent. I don't think he's amazing by any stretch, but he's not terrible the way that people making him out to be.
In my opinion, the Titans don't have time for pretty decent. And I feel like the difference is the Packers have time for pretty decent. The Packers have a solidified QB1 that they need to develop and grow. And Malik Willis is just a sad afterthought at this point. Not saying he's sad as a person, but he's redheaded stepchild.
Not what they thought that he would be. Yeah,
he's not what they thought they were gonna get. He probably he didn't mesh well with the team. And let's face it, Will Levis didn't look horrible. So I guess if you're Will Levis, if you're trying to please Will Levis, I don't even know if please is the right word, but you're trying to conform and say, hey man, I get your team, we got to develop you and we got to develop Malik. Trying to develop two guys at the same time is a lot of work. When we need to focus on a guy who needs development and get backups who are already developed and they are what they are.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like this is just like a confident booster, almost like, hey, Will, you ain't gotta worry about this other guy. Like, we're solely focused on you. But the flip side of that is like, Will Levis didn't look all that great either. So we'll see if my man Brian Callahan, my old OC, if he can make magic with Will Levis. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, being a backup to Jordan Love isn't the worst thing. It's a 7th round pick is that's a low price to pay anyway. So I guess it's a win-win for both sides. That's all I got, Lawrence. Anything else we got to touch up on before we head on out?
No, I'm just over here glancing off to the side every once in a while at this Indiana Fever Atlanta Dream game, and all I got left in this parlay is Caitlin Clark's over on assists, and I've seen her just throw some dimes at these girls, and they just all suck. They're just all
That's
bad.
the W. That's the Indiana Fever for you. Ain't nothing changed.
I wouldn't even just blame the NBA or the Fever. I would just say that's just the WNBA.
I'm trying to give them a compliment. I just want to say the team is bad, not the league.
Well, the league's pretty bad. I mean, the fact that Angel Reese is, on some books, the front runner for Rookie of the Year is like absurd.
Because she's padding her stats and pitting up 10, 20 games when she's missing layups on purpose. Well, I'm not even going to say it's on purpose, but She's literally pulling who does that in the NBA? Fucking who used to do that crap?
Well, I know Dwight Howard did it at some point.
Howard did it.
But not to really this extent. Maybe like Big Boogie.
Nah, Boogie didn't really rebound like that.
But I don't think I've ever seen someone just toss up layups that have really no aim to get in. But like you throw it up there, and then your whole goal is to just position yourself for the rebound because you know that's what you're going for. Because you know you're missing. I feel like I don't know. I feel like also teams have figured it out too. If I don't know if you noticed his last couple games, Reese has points have dropped a lot, and her rebounds are not as high as they used to be, but they're still always in the tens. Because she's a big girl and she's going to get a rebound. But it's more so the fact that like they're not giving her second chances to shoot the layups anymore. They just realize once she gets in the paint and she throws it up there, okay, well now we'll just put two people in the paint and we get that rebound now.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, they're definitely catching on. They gotta. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think they still got a couple more weeks, right, of the season before they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, but half the league is already locking to the playoffs. So
oh god,
I don't understand how that works. This is my first time ever getting into the WNBA and trying to like learn the ins and outs of it. Maybe I should have been doing this a long time ago and I'm casual, but I'm pretty confident most people watching WNBA right now are casuals.
Yeah, we're all just trying to get into it. All trying to get into it. I think that's it.
Week trying to give them some more ratings.
Week 0 was college football, but honestly, there's not much to talk about. There was some bad games.
You don't want to talk about it because like you and Juan were really confident about the Florida State kicking that ass. And
well, I saw the first drive by Florida State, and it's like, wow, they're really moving the ball. Like it was so effortless.
Georgia Tech did the same thing,
and then they did the same thing the next drive. I was like, okay, well, that's. I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't know if it's maybe they're not gonna shove it in, as I said, but Georgia Tech proceeded to match them. I didn't watch the whole game, but that was bad. Florida State is bad.
Yeah,
your thoughts?
Georgia Tech, I think, is a lot better than what people gave them credit for. Which, funny enough,
they're unbeaten versus ranked conference opponents since like last year, right, or 2 years ago.
I don't know about that, but was it Nick Saban said during the pregame? He said that Georgia Tech is a lot better than they were last year, and it'll show this season. And then he proceeded to pick Florida State and said that Florida State would win, pretty convincingly. So he didn't even back his own statement. And then his statement was correct, like completely to the T. He literally said that the defense coordinator they brought in was going to improve their defense and give them fighting chances in games. You saw that. That was definite. Their defense coordinator is from the one from Duke. And their offense coordinator stayed, and he looked just as good as he did last year. Honestly, what I think the biggest thing what I think the biggest kicker was is I just felt like the Georgia Tech quarterback was way more clutch. I was hating on DJ, and I still hate on DJ because like that man was dog water at Clemson, and he sucked. Like he just straight up sucked. And then he went to Oregon State, and no offense to Oregon State, but you play a bunch of Pac-12 teams, and I mean even the best Pac-12 teams don't have a defense. Like they don't play defense. So you're just lighting people up over there in Oregon State, and everyone thinks, oh well, maybe it was just Clemson that was bad. No, he goes to Florida State and he immediately loses. I think that proves that it wasn't just Clemson that was bad. I think it just proves that Oregon State and the Pac-12 had no defense. Like much of like the Big 12. There's just certain conferences that we are known to love that don't have defense, and that's fine. It's electrifying offense, and that's what they are. And he got to face a real defense. In the first half, he had negative 0.1 passing yards or something like that. Like they were saying, I forget what the stat line is, but Georgia Tech guy had what was it, like a 7.2 of like where the people are catching on the field. So that means majority of the Florida State catches were in the backfield. That's how they were playing their team. But I mean, the Georgia Tech quarterback, was it Haynes King? I think it was Haynes King. Was making some pretty clutch throws, especially on that one drive. Consistent, and I feel like the wide receiver group for the Georgia Tech. I mean, all they talked about the whole time was the defense. Defensive line for Florida State being one of the best in the country, and the secondary being one of the best. And I don't know if you watched the play where the Georgia Tech player broke 2 ankles on the sideline of Florida State players.
No, like I said, I didn't watch much past the first quarter. So,
well, he caught the ball. He broke 2 of their ankles. His own other wide receiver went, oh, like that, because he just watched 2 men break their ankles right there. It was pretty fun. I'll send it to you on TikTok. I know I sent it around people.
Well, that's that week 0. There was a couple other games. The Montana and New Mexico, wasn't it? Montana State versus New Mexico.
That came down to the wire. And Nevada SMU came down to the wire.
Yeah,
which should not have. Which I don't know if you noticed anything, but you just fade Juan, you make money.
Yeah. The fact that he lost $300 on the first game did not bode well for him.
Well, he also bet on SMU minus 24.
Oh.
And I know he bet on the other one, Montana State or something like that.
I think all the underdogs covered in the first in week 0.
And he lost all of those.
Oh, my God.
Well, week 0, okay? Like, what do you expect? Not everyone's ready yet.
Yeah, we got some better matchups this week. Technically last week was the official start of college football, but most colleges are playing this upcoming Saturday, so we'll probably have some more coverage on that coming up Wednesday. But that's all I got, Lawrence. So I think we'll head on out. Wednesday we'll cover NFC West, and we also have Fantasy Football Draft that will be taking place as well. So we'll probably do that live here as well, just like we did last year. So be looking forward to that, guys. But other than that, we're going to head on out. MTL Sports, episode 112. We're heading out. Peace.